So I want to thank President Karen Littlewood and the OSSTF for inviting me to your annual meeting of the Provincial Assembly. Now I'm going off my speech already, but I was president of the Quebec Provincial Association. We had 120 delegates. So this to me is unbelievable. And it's great to be in a room filled with teachers and education workers from all levels of education. There is power in this room. Yes. So my name is Heidi Joy Yetman.
Hey.
Yeah. I'm the president of the Canadian Teachers Federation. I represent over 365,000 teachers across 18 different organizations spanning all the province and territories. And I don't know if you know this, but the CTF-FC is also part of a bigger community through Education International, which represents over 300 member organizations, more than 32 million teachers and education workers in 178 countries and territories. So as members of the Canadian Teachers Federation, you are not alone. You are part of a massive national that stands in solidarity and is fighting to ensure publicly funded public education thrives. And collectively, we are fighting for a better society. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I like storytelling. I think storytelling is really important. So I had a short stint as a scientist, but it turned out that this extrovert didn't love being squirreled away in a laboratory. So I decided to follow my passion for the visual arts. But after obtaining my BFA, I felt a pull to share that passion with young, aspiring artists. Also, it was very difficult to find a job with a BFA. Just a side note. I received my teaching certification from Université Laval in Quebec City in 1993 and never looked back. When I walked into the classroom for the first time, it felt like love at first sight. It was exactly where I was meant to be. But just as quickly, I immediately felt the weight of responsibility that comes with teaching. These students were going to inherit and eventually change the world, and being the best teacher I could be was how I was going to help them tackle that unknown future. I taught science and visual art at the high school level from 1993 to 2016 on the island of Montreal. And over those ensuing years, the profession I love changed dramatically, to say the least. And I'm sure for those who have been teaching for a long time, you would agree. The first 5 years were challenging, learning the ins and outs of a school community, preparing countless lesson plans, some that worked and some that didn't, evaluating countless projects, managing classrooms of varying temperaments, and how to deal with parents also of varying temperaments. Là, je change en français. Oui, le travail était difficile, comme le sont tous les emplois de la première ligne. Mais chaque jour, je me sentais valorisée et j'avais l'impression de faire une différence. J'aimais dans la classe avec mes élèves et voir leur progrès et leur réussite. Et au cours de ces 23 années, j'ai vu les fondements de notre profession s'éroder lentement. Les exigences sont devenues insupportables. Les classes sont devenues de plus en plus complexes. Les relations entre les enseignantes et les parents ont changé. Certains parents exprimaient leurs exigences d'une manière qui ne me semblait pas être dans le meilleur intérêt de la classe. Et certains commençaient même à considérer l'école comme une marchandise. At the same time, we were losing our purchasing power. Our salaries were not keeping up with the cost of living. And so many of us were living paycheck to paycheck. And like so many of my colleagues, I was exhausted and regularly stressed. I ask you, why is it that my last 5 years of teaching were more difficult than my first 5 years? Enter the age of the internet and social media. Some tasks were sped up and simplified, but it rapidly changed pedagogy and the way we related to our students. And it goes without saying that the rise of AI and the lack of government safeguards to protect teacher, education workers, and students' privacy will prove to be one of the greatest new challenges facing our profession. In 2012, I went back to school to complete a master's in art education, which opened up my mind to critical pedagogy, activism, and unionism. And through unionism, I found a way to fight for the profession I love. And that's why I am here among you today. As we all know, the battle for worker rights and fair treatment in the workplace is an ongoing struggle that can feel like an uphill climb. It's a constant back and forth where progress is hard-won, but success can literally change lives. Cesar Chavez once said, "The fight is never about grapes or lettuce. It's always about people." In education, those people are students, families, teachers, and all education workers. Notre fédération comprend qu'il s'agit de lutter pour des droits des travailleuses et des travailleurs en éducation, de les protéger contre les traitements injustes, de veiller à ce qu'ils reçoivent des salaires équitables et bénéficient de bonnes conditions de travail. Et malgré les échecs troublants de ces dernières décennies, je constate un mouvement grandissant se met en place dans tout le pays. La lutte pour reconstruire les fondations de notre profession est en cours maintenant. Tous les membres de notre fédération élaborent des stratégies, collaborent et lancent des initiatives et des campagnes importantes pour faire changer les choses. La FESO fait la même chose aujourd'hui. And the Canadian Teacher Federation is there too, working hand in hand with all of our members. And as you know, Canada has been facing an accelerating crisis in retention and recruitment in education. And as Karen said, on February 21st, Stephen Lecce and Doug Ford finally admitted that what union leaders have been telling them all along. And the Ford government could have started addressing this crisis years ago. Shame. Shame, I say. Shame. And they know this is not a shortage of educators. Did you know that 40,000 teachers are enrolled in the Ontario Teachers College, but are not in classrooms? It's clear that the reason is systemic. And these systemic issues are ubiquitous across Canada. Job intensification, complex classrooms with no resources, more administrative work on the backs, on all of your backs, a dramatic increase in school-based violence, and the overwhelming feeling that our jobs are more undervalued than ever. But change is coming. Like OSSTF, the Canadian Teacher Federation is racing to address the crisis. We are actively developing a pan-Canadian strategy and coordinating a myriad of initiatives in response. We are collaborating with Abacus Data to monitor public sentiment. Our pan-Canadian bargaining network share model clauses, best practices, and strengthening language for collective agreements. We're launching, and this is coming really, really soon, and Karen brought it up, we're launching a national campaign to advocate for a pan-Canadian school food program. We are the only G7 country without one. It's time to change that. So look, it's coming your way early next week, a campaign, a letter-writing campaign. We're conducting exceptional research on artificial intelligence safeguards. We're pushing the federal government to advance the TRC calls to action. They've been there since 2015, and only like a dozen have been put forward. It's shameful. And we're conducting research and developing interventions to address teacher mental health. We are active in the fight to protect the rights of trans and queer students. And the list goes on. Yes. Last week, I attended the National Education Association Leadership Summit in Chicago, and it was really inspiring. And it was inspiring to see that this fight we're immersed in extends far beyond our borders. We are part of a global movement. It may feel like the wrong time to promote our profession, but I disagree. The public needs to better understand our profession and its challenges, and our passion is infectious, and we need to promote it. And perhaps even more than that, we need to promote our progress. Education is democracy. And that's why people are fighting against education, because it's democracy. Education is freedom. And you, the educators and support workers, are the firmament of our profession. You are the champions of democracy and freedom. We have to reimagine public education together in how we work, but also in classrooms, campuses, and the communities where we live. And collectively, we can send messages that no government can ignore. Collectively, we can paint the realities of our profession, but also map out solutions. No one knows the ground you walk on better than you do. So education is the foundation of a healthy and prosperous society, and together we can work to restore the profession's nobility and the great joy that all teachers and education workers feel when they know they've made a difference in their students' lives. Remember, there is power in this room. You own the power. Solidarity, my friends.